Have you ever heard the saying, live in harmony with nature? Immediately, a picture probably pops into your head. A cabin in the woods, morning yoga on the grass, and a diet consisting solely of vegetables from your own garden. Well, forget all about that. Today, we're going to dive into what the ancient Stoics really meant when they talked about living in harmony with nature. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll look at traffic jams, annoying colleagues, and even a sudden downpour through completely different eyes. This isn't some philosophy for hermits. It's a practical guide to maintaining peace of mind and rationality, right in the heart of modern chaos. We'll talk about the ancient Greeks and Romans, people who were no less intelligent than us. Among them were figures like Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the statesman Seneca, and even the former slave Epictetus. All of them sought an answer to one burning question. How do you live a good life, no matter what challenges come your way? And they found it. So, let's kick things off by tackling the biggest misconception. When we hear the phrase living in harmony with nature, what's the first image that typically pops into our heads? Most likely, we picture some form of downshifting, moving out of the city, building a quaint cabin by a lake, drinking fresh spring water, and perhaps even chatting with squirrels. While that certainly sounds idyllic and romantic, it has about as much to do with Stoicism as astrology does with astronomy. The ancient Greeks and Romans who developed this philosophy actually lived in bustling, often grimy cities, rife with politics, wars, and intrigue. They weren't proto-hippies, they were pragmatists through and through. So, when a Stoic spoke of nature, they weren't referring to picturesque forest landscapes or babbling brooks. They were speaking of nature with a capital N. They meant the fundamental order of the cosmos, the universal laws governing everything from the movement of planets to the growth of a single blade of grass. And, crucially, about our own human nature. This understanding is the master key that unlocks every other door in this philosophy. Without grasping this properly, the entire philosophy of Stoicism can seem odd, even detached from real life. So, let's set aside the rustic cabin fantasy for a moment and truly understand what this nature fundamentally means. So, what exactly is this mysterious nature the Stoics talk about? This concept we're meant to live in harmony with. For them, it's like a set of nesting dolls, comprised of two distinct layers. The outer, larger doll represents the nature of the entire universe. The smaller one tucked inside embodies our own human nature. Let's start with the big one. The Stoics looked at the world and didn't see chaos, but rather a profound order. They didn't view the universe as a series of random occurrences, but as a single, living, intelligent organism. A giant system where everything is interconnected and subject to universal laws of cause and effect. They referred to this cosmic logic and order as the logos. Everything that happens from the changing seasons to that inconvenient rain on your picnic day is part of this vast, all-encompassing plan. Now let's peer inside the smaller nesting doll. What then constitutes human nature? What sets us apart from animals or plants? It's our capacity for thought, our reason, our ability to apply logic, to analyze, and to make conscious choices. This is our main defining characteristic, our built-in superpower. And here's the key insight. The Stoics believed our individual reason is a tiny fragment, a spark of that very same grand universal logos. We are the only beings capable of comprehending this cosmic order and consciously aligning ourselves with it. And this is where things get really interesting. Let's begin with the fundamental concept. According to the Stoics, the defining characteristic of human nature is our capacity for reason. Yes, like animals, we possess instincts. We feel hunger, fear, and desire. But what truly sets us apart? It's our ability to pause, reflect, and make conscious choices. This is our unique, inherent programming. So, when a Stoic says, live in accordance with your nature, what they're essentially telling you is, use your brain as it was designed to be used. It's an invitation to make reason the guiding force in your mind. Don't allow fleeting emotions, anger, or fear to take the wheel of your life. There can certainly be passengers, but the driver must be your good judgment, your logic. Imagine your emotions as a powerful yet temperamental horse, and your reason, the rider. To live in accordance with your nature isn't about getting rid of the horse, it's about learning to master it. It means holding the reins firmly and directing all its power exactly where you've consciously decided to go, rather than letting it bolt wildly after every frightening shadow or enticing carrot. Your true nature is to be the rider, not simply to be dragged along behind the horse. All right, we've covered our human nature, our reason, but we're also part of something much larger, and this is where the Stoics take their next crucial step. They believe the entire universe is permeated by reason, which they called logos, or fate. Imagine the world not as a chaotic jumble of events, but as a perfectly functioning clockwork mechanism, or, to use our modern analogy, a gigantic computer program with every single line of code meticulously written. And in this program, there are no errors. Every single event, from a leaf falling from a tree to a global economic crisis, is a necessary and logical part of this overarching process. The universe is neither good nor evil. It simply is. It operates solely according to its own immutable laws. Think of it like gravity. You can curse it when you trip and fall, but that's utterly pointless. Gravity simply performs its function. In the same way, all other events in the world simply unfold according to a universal order, and trying to fight this order, or rage against it, is like yelling at the rain to stop. It's both futile and utterly exhausting. So here's what we're looking at. On one hand, our very nature is reason. On the other hand, the nature of the universe is also reason, a universal law, the logos. When we combine these two ideas, the core formula of Stoicism emerges. To live in harmony with nature, then, means using our individual reason to understand and accept the universal rational order of the world. In practice, this translates to do what is within your control, wisely and to the best of your ability, and accept what is beyond your control as an unavoidable part of the cosmic order. Put simply, stop wasting your energy and emotional reserves fighting against reality. This isn't a call to passivity, it's a call to wisdom. Instead of exclaiming, "Why me?" when things don't go according to plan, a Stoic asks themselves, "All right, this has happened. It's now a part of reality. What can I do with this now using my reason?" This is a fundamental shift in focus, from pointless resistance to constructive action. And it changes absolutely everything. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become an active participant, skillfully playing the cards life has dealt you, not getting rattled by trifles. That is the first and most crucial step towards living in harmony with nature. And this brings us to the Stoics' most powerful practical tool, an idea that can literally transform your perspective on any problem in just 5 minutes. It's called the Dichotomy of Control. Though it might sound like something out of a physics textbook, it's actually a brilliantly simple concept. Imagine taking a large sheet of paper and dividing it into 2 columns. In one column, you list absolutely everything that is entirely, 100% within your control. And in the other, everything else, things you can only partially influence, or perhaps not influence at all. The Stoics, having performed this exercise, arrived at a profound realization. The first column, the one representing our complete control, turned out to be incredibly short, while the second was virtually endless. And the key to inner peace, they argued, is to clearly identify this boundary and never, ever blur the lines. All our anxiety, anger, frustration and stress arise precisely when we start to agonize over things in the second column, as if they were actually in the first. Let's take a look at what falls into these 2 columns. We'll start with the first and most crucial. 1. What I control. What truly lies within our complete and absolute power. The list might surprise you with its brevity. First, our thoughts. We choose what to think about. Second, our judgments and opinions. How we evaluate events and situations. Third, our aspirations and desires. What we choose to strive for. And fourth, our actions, what we decide to do in this very moment. And, essentially, that's it. Our thoughts, judgments, aspirations, and actions. This is our entire island of control in the vast ocean of the universe. It's our inner fortress, which no one can invade without our permission. Now let's turn to the second column, what I don't control. And here, practically everything else. We don't control the weather, we don't control the economy, we don't control the past, we don't control other people, their words, their actions, or their opinions of us. We don't even have 100% control over our own bodies. They can get sick, they can age. We don't control our reputation, our status, or the outcomes of our actions. This list could go on indefinitely. So now that we've divided the world into these two columns, the Stoics offer us a simple, yet revolutionary rule. Focus all your attention, energy, and effort on the first column, the one under your control. Refine your thoughts, analyze your judgments, make conscious decisions, and act to the best of your ability. This is your sphere of responsibility, your personal playground. And what about the second column, that extensive list of things beyond your control? Accept them. Treat them with what's known as Stoic indifference. This doesn't mean you should simply dismiss them. It means that your inner peace, your happiness, should not depend on them. Think of them like the weather outside your window. Is it raining? Fine, you grab an umbrella. Is the sun shining? Great, you put on sunglasses. You don't get angry at the rain, nor do you become euphoric about the sun. You simply accept the fact and act accordingly. You should approach everything else beyond your control in precisely the same way. Imagine a scenario familiar to absolutely everyone. A traffic jam. You're running late for an important meeting, and cars are barely crawling. What goes on inside an average person? A storm brews. Why today of all days? This idiot in front could go faster. I'm going to miss everything. This is a disaster. Your heart rate quickens, adrenaline surges through your veins, and your mood plummets to zero. Now let's look at this exact same situation through the eyes of a Stoic. They apply the dichotomy of control. What can I control here? Can I make the cars move faster? No. Can I clear the road with my mind? No. The traffic jam itself is entirely beyond my power. So what do I control? My reaction. I could honk, get angry and curse, effectively poisoning my body with stress hormones. Or I can simply accept the fact. I am in traffic. Then I can do what is in my power. Call and inform them I'll be late, and I can use the remaining time productively. Listen to an audiobook, an interesting podcast, or just breathe calmly. The traffic jam is the same, but your internal state, it's completely different. You can't control the traffic, but you absolutely control whether it turns into a personal hell or an unplanned pause. This idea brings us to another crucial Stoic insight, one that delves into the nature of our emotions. Most of us tend to believe that external events are what truly upset us. Lost your job? We're devastated. Our favourite team loses. We get angry. Caught in the rain? Our day is ruined. It seems perfectly logical. A negative event naturally leads to a negative emotion. But the Stoics challenge this, arguing, no, that's a fundamental misconception. What truly upsets you isn't the event itself, but rather your judgment about that event. There's always a tiny, crucial gap between an event and your emotional reaction to it. And within that gap lies your interpretation, your evaluation. Consider a traffic jam, for example. It's simply a fact, a collection of vehicles on a particular stretch of road. The event itself is devoid of any inherent emotional charge. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is. It only becomes bad or horrible because of your judgment. I'm going to be late because of this. It's a disaster. My whole day is ruined. It is this thought, not the traffic jam itself, that triggers the cascade of biochemical reactions, anger and stress, within your body. If, instead, you were to think, oh, traffic, perfect, an extra 20 minutes to finish that audiobook chapter, your emotional response would be completely transformed. The event is the same, yet the reactions are vastly different. Why? because different judgments were made in that critical space. So, if our primary aim is to live wisely, that is, in harmony with our nature, then how do we truly measure the success of such a life? Is it the balance in our bank account, the fancy title on a business card, the number of likes on a social media post? The Stoics would simply laugh. These are all externals, things not within our control. They are here today, gone tomorrow. Building your happiness on such a shaky foundation is like building a house on sand. For a Stoic, the only true measure of a successful life is virtue. Sounds a bit old-fashioned and perhaps even boring, doesn't it? But let's unpack that. For a Stoic, virtue isn't about being a good boy or good girl. It's more like a mastery, the mastery of living as a human being, of perfectly applying your reason in any situation. To be virtuous means to make decisions and act, guided by wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. It means being the best version of yourself, a rational and social being, right here, right now, and this reward is always with you. No one can take it away. Unlike money, fame, or even health. Okay, so being virtuous is wonderful, right? But let's face it, we live in a material world. We all need money to pay our bills. We all want to be healthy. We pursue career success. So where does all this fit in? Are the Stoics seriously suggesting we give it all up and go live in a barrel like Diogenes? Absolutely not. This is precisely where they introduce another incredibly elegant concept: preferred indifference. Sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Let's unpack that. They're called indifferent because they don't directly contribute to your virtue, and therefore not to your true happiness. Whether you have money or not doesn't inherently make you a good or bad person. These are simply external circumstances, but at the same time they are preferred. This means that, all else being equal, any reasonable person would naturally prefer to be healthy over being sick, wealthy over poor, successful over a failure. The Stoics aren't advocating for asceticism or self-flagellation. They encourage us, yes, absolutely strive for health, wealth and success. That's perfectly normal and natural. But never, ever confuse them with the ultimate prize, your inner tranquility and virtue. To truly grasp this idea, the Stoics used a brilliant analogy: the archer. Imagine a professional archer, meticulously preparing for a competition. What is entirely within his control? A great deal. He can spend months training, meticulously honing his technique. He can ensure he eats well and gets enough rest before the contest. He can select the finest bow and arrows. At the crucial moment of the shot, he can assume the perfect stance, draw the string with precision, aim accurately, account for wind direction, and smoothly release the arrow. All of this falls within his sphere of responsibility. His singular goal is to execute the perfect shot. Now for the critical question: does all this effort guarantee a bullseye every single time? Absolutely not. The instant that arrow leaves the bowstring, countless variables come into play. A sudden gust of wind could send it veering off course. A bird might unexpectedly fly across its trajectory. The target itself could suddenly topple over. These are factors entirely beyond the archer's influence. So what, then, is his true objective? Is it simply to hit the target? No. His actual goal is to execute the perfect shot to the best of his ability. If he has done everything within his power, if his process was flawless, then he has already succeeded, regardless of where the arrow lands. The outcome is preferable, yes, but ultimately indifferent. It is the mastery of his craft that holds true value. Life works the same way. Our true task isn't to guarantee ourselves success, health, or wealth, because that's simply impossible. It's like trying to control the wind that deflects an arrow mid-flight. Our actual job is to aim for those perfect shots in every situation. This means making the most rational and principled decisions based on the information and opportunities available to us at that moment. Let's say you're applying for a job. Your responsibility is to prepare flawlessly, craft an outstanding resume, and absolutely ace the interview. That's your shot. Whether you get hired or not, that's the target. It depends on hundreds of factors beyond your control. Everything from the HR manager's mood to your competitor having an uncle on the board. Or perhaps you're starting a business. Your task is to meticulously plan your business, thoroughly research the market, and develop a high-quality product. That's your shot. Whether that business takes off or is ultimately derailed by an unexpected crisis, that's the target. Your peace of mind should not hinge on hitting that target. Instead, it should depend on the quality of your efforts, on the deep satisfaction of knowing you did everything you possibly could. And the outcome? You accept it as it is, then prepare for your next shot. And this brings us to one of the most powerful, yet often misunderstood, ideas in Stoicism. It's called amor fati, which is Latin for love of one's fate. This isn't merely acceptance, nor is it passive resignation to whatever happens. It's the next level. An active, joyful embrace of everything life throws your way, both the good and the bad. The Stoics viewed it this way. If the universe is a single, rational organism operating under perfect laws, then everything that unfolds is necessary and part of a grand design. Every event, even those we perceive as tragic or unfair, plays its part in a larger tapestry that our limited human mind simply can't comprehend. To resist fate, then, or to complain about it, is as futile as arguing with a mathematical formula. Instead, the Stoic proposes we say a resounding yes to life, to accept everything it offers, not merely as an inevitability, but as a potent medicine prescribed by a wise cosmic physician, tailored specifically for you. Amor fati is not just about tolerating your lot, it's about truly loving it. It's about seeing every obstacle as an opportunity to train your spirit, every loss as a valuable lesson, and every challenge as a chance to demonstrate your virtues. But it's absolutely crucial to understand this concept correctly. Amor fati is not fatalism, and it's certainly not an invitation to passively resign yourself to fate, lying on the couch and doing nothing because everything is predetermined. It's quite the opposite. It's an encouragement to engage in the most active and conscious way possible, operating within the boundaries that reality provides. Imagine you're playing chess. You don't control your opponent's moves. That's your fate, the reality, the given circumstances. It would be foolish to get angry and yell, "Why did they move that pawn? That's unfair." Instead, you simply accept their move as a fact. And now, within this new reality, you engage your mind fully and make the best possible move. Love of fate is love of the rules of the game. It means ceasing to waste energy fighting against what has already occurred or is currently unfolding. Instead, all your energy is channeled into one crucial question. What can I do now? What's my absolute best move in this current situation? This is not the philosophy of a passive observer, but of a skillful player who uses any situation, even the most unfavourable odds, to demonstrate their mastery. One might assume that Stoicism is a rather self-centred philosophy, with all its emphasis on inner peace and building one's personal mental fortress. It often creates the image of a detached sage, indifferent to the world around them. However, this is a profound misconception. In reality, Stoics consistently emphasized that humans are, by their very nature, social beings. We are not made to live in isolation. Our reason isn't solely for introspection, it's also for engaging with others. We are like bees in a hive, or individual bricks in a wall. Our very nature is to be part of a greater whole, to cooperate and assist one another. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoics, wrote in his Meditations, "What is not good for the beehive is not good for the bee." This quote perfectly encapsulates their perspective. Living in harmony with one's nature means not only cultivating one's personal reason, but also fulfilling one's social function. Being a good friend, an honest citizen, a caring parent. Helping others isn't merely an optional extra. It's a direct consequence of a rational life, for we are all fragments of the same universal logos. When you help another, you are helping the entire organism, and by extension, yourself. Now let's debunk perhaps the most pervasive myth about Stoicism. Many people picture a Stoic as a cold, emotionless, stern individual with a stone-cold expression. They imagine someone like a robot suppressing all feelings and never cracking a smile. In fact, the very word Stoic in modern language has become synonymous with unflappability, even callousness. But this is a caricature that bears little resemblance to reality. Stoics were not robots. They experienced the full spectrum of human emotions, joy, sorrow, and love. They didn't advocate suppressing emotions. Instead, they urged us to analyze them. What's the difference? Suppression is when you feel anger, but you push it deep down, pretending it doesn't exist. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Sooner or later, it will pop up with even greater force. Stoics, however, proposed a different path. When an emotion arises such as anger, the goal isn't to suppress it, but to examine it through the lens of reason. Ask yourself, what triggered this anger? What judgment of mine is behind it? Is this judgment truly valid? Is the cause of this anger within my control? This kind of analysis prevents the emotion from taking control of you. You don't suppress it. Instead, you dissect it and disarm it. A Stoic is not someone who feels nothing, but rather someone who is not a slave to their feelings. So, with all these pieces of the puzzle laid out, let's explore how this ancient philosophy truly resonates with our modern lives. We're certainly not living in ancient Rome anymore. We're surrounded by smartphones, social media, constant information overload, and a relentless pursuit of success. Is Stoicism still relevant today? Absolutely. Perhaps even more crucial now than ever before. Today, living in harmony with nature means applying the Stoic dichotomy of control to the endless stream of news. It means distinguishing between what you can truly influence, say, helping a specific person or making a donation, and what only causes you a sense of helpless anxiety. It means refusing to let your sense of self-worth be dictated by likes and comments on social media. Your true value lies in your virtuous actions, not in the fleeting approval of strangers online. These are fundamentally different categories. It means maintaining composure when a project at work falls through, when you're stranded at the airport because of a cancelled flight, or when your child decides to redecorate your new wallpaper with markers. In all these situations, you can harness your reason to separate objective facts from panic-driven judgments and then find the most constructive solution, rather than succumbing to anger or despair. Stoicism, then, is like an operating system for your mind, specifically designed to prevent it from crashing under the constant overload of the 21st century. And this brings us to the most profound insight. This entire philosophy boils down to one powerful idea. When Stoics speak of living in agreement with nature, they're essentially saying that your true nature, your primary home, is your own mind, not the external world which you can't control, but your inner citadel of thoughts and decisions. This is the only place where you are truly the master. Think about that. Everything that upsets, angers, or frightens you originates externally, but your reaction to it is born within. And if you learn to master this inner world, the external world will lose almost all its power over you. This is true freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you please, but freedom from destructive emotions and external chaos. So, to sum up, to live in agreement with nature, in the Stoic sense, means using your reason to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. It means focusing on your actions and judgments rather than on the outcomes, and accepting reality as it is, while maintaining inner tranquility and dignity. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you found this interesting and learned something new, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future breakdowns of complex topics explained simply. Now, a question for you. Which Stoic idea did you find most useful or perhaps most challenging to apply in your own life? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to read your thoughts.